"Behind every pawned item lies a story," Rick Harrison once said. But perhaps the most compelling story isn't inside the gold and silver pawn shop. It's Rick's own life, a life filled with triumphs, tragedies, and the resilience to carry on even in the darkest times. Rick Harrison is known across the globe as the face of Pawn Stars, one of the most successful reality TV shows of all time. With his encyclopedic knowledge of history, sharp business instincts, and quick wit, he became an unlikely celebrity. What many fans may not know, however, is that behind Rick's fame lies a life shaped by personal loss, complex family dynamics, and battles with grief and resilience. Rick's journey is not just a tale of business success and TV stardom. It is a story of heartbreak and the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity. From his humble beginnings in North Carolina to building an empire in Las Vegas, Rick's path has been marked by painful challenges and profound personal growth. This is a deeper look into the heart of Rick Harrison's life, revealing the details that fans have yet to fully understand. Through the lens of his most recent heartbreaking experiences, we explore how Rick has turned the most tragic moments into lessons of strength and advocacy. Rick Harrison's early life, growing up with struggles. Rick Harrison was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina, into a world far from the glamorous life he would one day know. His childhood was marked by hardships that, rather than crushing him, would ultimately serve as a driving force in his life. At just 8 years old, Rick was diagnosed with epilepsy, a neurological condition that would cast a long shadow over his early years. For a young boy, the diagnosis was not just a medical hurdle, but a profound emotional burden. Epilepsy meant that Rick couldn't fully participate in many of the activities that other children took for granted, such as playing sports, riding bikes, or engaging in the physical freedoms that typically define childhood. Every seizure was a reminder of his physical limitations, creating both a sense of vulnerability and separation from his peers. This forced isolation led to feelings of loneliness and frustration. But rather than succumbing to despair, Rick turned inward. Unable to join in the playful games of other children, he found refuge in the pages of books. The world of history, trivia, and learning became his personal escape, a place where he could explore vast, exciting realms without being hindered by his condition. Rick's natural curiosity blossomed during this period, and his love for history grew deeper. In fact, this early immersion in the stories of the past would later become one of his defining characteristics. While other children were playing sports or socializing, Rick was absorbing everything he could about history, culture, and the curious details that make the past so intriguing. His intense passion for learning allowed him to develop an encyclopedic knowledge of facts and stories, an ability that would serve him well throughout his life. Rick's remarkable memory for obscure details about everything from ancient artifacts to vintage items made him a natural at appraising valuable objects. As he matured, his interest in the past and his gift for remembering important information laid the foundation for what would eventually become his professional career. This knowledge not only gave him an edge in understanding the value of rare items, but also helped him connect with others through storytelling. Despite the physical limitations epilepsy placed on him, Rick's intellectual curiosity and growing expertise became his gateway to a future where his mind, not his body, would be his greatest asset. In many ways, it was the solitude of his early years, the time spent learning, reflecting, and developing a deep knowledge of the world that set the course for his later success. Rather than succumbing to the frustration of not fitting in with his peers, Rick channeled his energy into building the mental and emotional fortitude that would carry him through the ups and downs of life and, ultimately, help him succeed in the competitive world of business. Even as a young boy, Rick displayed an entrepreneurial spirit. At the age of 13, he began to dabble in business, running small schemes like selling counterfeit Gucci bags, a venture that taught him early lessons in supply and demand, negotiation, and customer relations. Although not entirely legal, these early forays into business gave Rick a taste for entrepreneurship, a hunger that would grow throughout his life. Tahtial, the gold and silver pawn shop, from humble beginnings to fame. In the late 1980s, Rick Harrison and his father, Richard, the old man Harrison, set out for a new life in Las Vegas, driven by the hope of building something significant. They arrived in the city with nothing but determination and a shared dream to create a family business that would one day thrive. In 1989, they opened the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, a humble beginning in a city famed for its vibrant nightlife, casinos, and high-stakes gambling. But Las Vegas was more than just a glittering facade. It was also a competitive marketplace, and Rick and his father were about to face the harsh realities of starting a business in such an environment. The early days were difficult. The pawn shop was located in a less glamorous, gritty area of Las Vegas, far from the bright lights and glitzy tourist spots that drew millions of visitors each year. The shop's location, while practical, was not an ideal spot to attract a high volume of customers. Business was slow, and for a long time, the shop barely scraped by. Many of the pawn shops in the area operated in a similar manner, so standing out in such a saturated market was no easy task. The Harrisons faced countless obstacles, from financial struggles to fierce competition, and at times it seemed as if their dream might not come to fruition. But they were undeterred. Rick's extensive knowledge of history, combined with his deep passion for unique and rare items, became a key asset for the shop. His interest in collectibles and antiques, nurtured during his childhood, gave him an unparalleled ability to recognize valuable pieces that others might overlook. Whether it was antique firearms, historical documents, vintage jewelry, or rare collectibles, Rick had a keen eye for identifying items that were not only valuable but also steeped in historical significance. As a result, the pawn shop began to attract a more niche clientele, those who were looking for something out of the ordinary, not just quick cash for their possessions. It wasn't long before word began to spread about the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop's growing reputation for handling rare and valuable items. Rick's passion for history and his exceptional ability to appraise unique artifacts gave the business an edge that other local pawn shops didn't have. This attention to detail and expertise slowly earned the shop a loyal following, turning it into a destination for those looking to buy or sell items with a rich historical background. Though the road was long and filled with challenges, Rick and his father's perseverance eventually paid off. Over time, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop became recognized not just as a place for quick cash, but as a treasure trove for those seeking unique and valuable items. Over the next decade, the business steadily grew. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop became known not just as a pawn shop, but as a place where people could encounter items of historical significance, sometimes even learning about the past from Rick himself. His passion for history, combined with his straightforward manner and sharp business skills, made him a favorite among customers. It was clear that Rick wasn't just interested in making money. He genuinely loved the stories behind the items he sold and purchased. The birth of Pawn Stars. A global phenomenon. The real turning point in Rick Harrison's life came in 2009 when the History Channel approached the Harrisons with a life-changing opportunity to turn their family pawn shop into a reality television show. At the time, Rick and his father, Richard, the old man Harrison, had built a respectable business, but they were still far from the international notoriety that would soon come their way. The concept the History Channel presented was simple but compelling. Each episode would showcase customers bringing in unique and sometimes extraordinary items to be appraised by Rick, his father, his son Corey, and their colorful employee Chumley. While the show's premise seemed straightforward, Rick was initially hesitant. He had no prior experience with television and wasn't sure how his family's day-to-day operations would translate into entertainment. Would viewers be interested in watching a pawn shop deal with negotiations over rare items? Would the family dynamic be compelling enough to sustain a television show? Despite his initial doubts, after some convincing from the producers and his family, Rick agreed to give it a try. Thus, Pawn Stars was born. Little did he know that the decision would completely change the trajectory of his life and his business. The show's debut was nothing short of explosive. It quickly became clear that audiences were not only fascinated by the eclectic range of items brought in for appraisal, ranging from rare coins and antique firearms to pop culture memorabilia and vintage cars, but also captivated by the personalities of the cast. Rick's deep knowledge of history and rare collectibles, combined with his witty and sometimes sardonic sense of humor, created a dynamic that viewers couldn't get enough of. But it wasn't just Rick's expertise that drew in viewers. The family interactions and relationships formed the heart of the show. Rick's witty back and forth with his father, Zrania Richard the Old Man Harrison, became one of the signature features of the show, with their playful bickering and occasional moments of tenderness resonating with viewers. Rick's relationship with his son, Corey, was another key element. The way Rick balanced tough love with moments of mentorship made their father-son dynamic relatable to many. And then there was Chumley, the quirky employee whose antics provided a sense of humor and lightheartedness, creating a unique chemistry among the cast members. What began as a modest television experiment quickly exploded into a global sensation. Pawn Stars became a cultural phenomenon, airing in over 150 countries and drawing millions of viewers every week. The success of the show far exceeded Rick's expectations, turning the gold and silver pawn shop, once a small local business, into an international brand. Fans flocked from around the world to visit the now famous pawn shop in Las Vegas, hoping to get a glimpse of Rick, his father, and the rest of the crew in action. The show became one of the History Channel's most successful programs, spawning several spin-offs and solidifying Rick Harrison as one of the most recognized figures in reality television. While the fame brought new opportunities and financial success, it also introduced new challenges. As the show grew, so did the pressure on Rick and his family to maintain the authenticity of their business while navigating the world of television. But through it all, Rick remained grounded, never forgetting the humble beginnings that led him to the international stage. What started as a skeptical leap of faith turned into a defining chapter of Rick's life, launching him from a struggling pawn shop owner into a global television personality with a legacy that would extend far beyond the world of pawnbroking. The success of Pawn Stars catapulted Rick and his family to international fame. The gold and silver pawn shop, once a small business struggling to survive, became a tourist destination, attracting thousands of visitors every day. What started as a family-owned pawn shop in a tough part of Las Vegas had transformed into a global brand. Family tragedies, losing the old man, and legal struggles. With fame and success, however, came challenges. One of the most difficult moments for Rick came in 2018 when his father, Richard, the Old Man Harrison, passed away at the age of 77. Richard had been the backbone of the family business, and his death was a blow not just to Rick, but to the entire family. On screen, viewers had come to love Richard for his gruff, no-nonsense demeanor. But behind the scenes, he had been Rick's mentor and guiding force. Rick often spoke about the lessons his father had instilled in him, the importance of hard work, integrity, and maintaining a strong moral compass. Losing him left a significant void in both Rick's personal life and the business. The the grief didn't stop there. In 2021, Rick found himself embroiled in a legal battle with his mother, Joanne Harrison. She filed a lawsuit accusing Rick of mismanaging family assets, including the pawn shop. The case highlighted the difficult intersection of family and business, and it revealed the challenges Rick faced in balancing personal relationships with the demands of running a high-profile business. Ultimately, the lawsuit was settled, but the experience left Rick with a deeper understanding of the complexities of family dynamics, especially when intertwined with business. The heartbreaking loss of Adam Harrison. Perhaps the most devastating loss in Rick's life came in January 2024, when his son Adam passed away at the age of 39. Adam, unlike his brother Corey, had largely stayed out of the spotlight and had chosen a quieter life, working outside of the family business. His death, attributed to a fentanyl overdose, shook the Harrison family to its core. For Rick, losing a child was a pain unlike any other. Rick spoke publicly about Adam's struggles with addiction, sharing that the family had tried everything in their power to help him. "It's the hardest thing I've ever faced," Rick said, his voice breaking. "You never stop fighting for your child, even when it feels hopeless." Adam's death underscored the harsh reality of the opioid crisis that continues to affect millions of families across the country. For Rick, the loss was not just personal, it became a catalyst for advocacy. Rick's advocacy for addiction awareness. In the wake of his son Adam's tragic death, Rick Harrison found himself grappling not only with profound grief, but also with a deep sense of purpose. Adam's passing, which was attributed to a fentanyl overdose, was a heart-wrenching reminder of the devastation caused by the ongoing opioid crisis. The loss of his son at such a young age, just 39 years old, was an unimaginable blow to Rick and his family. In the face of this heartbreaking tragedy, Rick chose to channel his pain into something positive, raising awareness about addiction and the dangers of synthetic opioids, particularly fentanyl, which has become a leading cause of death in the United States. Rick's grief, though intense and overwhelming, became the fuel for a new mission in his life. He was determined to use his platform to speak out about the opioid epidemic and to advocate for stronger measures to prevent other families from experiencing the same devastating loss. Speaking openly about Adam's struggles with addiction, Rick acknowledged the complexities of addiction, the struggles families face in trying to support their loved ones, and the dire need for more resources to help those affected. Fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that is often mixed with other substances, has contributed to a dramatic rise in overdose deaths across the nation. For Rick, the loss of his son was a stark reminder of just how dangerous these drugs can be. His advocacy has been driven by the desire to prevent other parents from having to face the same pain he experienced. "Addiction doesn't discriminate," Rick has said. "It can happen to anyone, and it's not something that people should be ashamed of talking about. We need to stop treating it like a stigma and start treating it like a public health crisis." In his public appearances, interviews, and through his social media platforms, Rick has called for more comprehensive education about the dangers of synthetic opioids and better access to treatment programs for those struggling with addiction. He has shared his own story of loss and perseverance, urging other families who are dealing with addiction to seek help and to not give up on their loved ones, no matter how dire the situation may seem. Rick has been adamant about the need for society to acknowledge addiction as a disease rather than a moral failing, and to invest in resources and support systems to help those in need. Through his advocacy, Rick has found a sense of healing and purpose. While the pain of losing Adam will never fully go away, speaking out about the opioid crisis has allowed Rick to honor his son's memory in a way that can make a meaningful difference. His dedication to this cause has not only brought attention to the opioid epidemic, but has also sparked important conversations about addiction, treatment, and prevention. Rick's advocacy is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the profound impact that love, even in the face of loss, can have on shaping positive change. By using his platform to raise awareness and foster understanding, Rick has become a voice for those affected by addiction, helping to shine a light on an issue that has devastated countless families across the nation. His commitment to advocacy serves as a powerful reminder that, while tragedy can tear lives apart, it can also ignite a deep desire to fight for change, to make the world a better place for future generations, and to ensure that no parent ever has to endure the same heartache that he did. Looking ahead, Rick's legacy. Despite the personal tragedies that have marked his life, Rick Harrison remains focused on his family, his business, and his legacy. He continues to star in Pawn Stars and its spin-offs, helping to bring history to life for audiences worldwide. But beyond television, Rick is determined to use his experience to make a difference. Whether through addiction advocacy or mentoring others in business, Rick has made it clear that he is committed to leaving a lasting impact. Stay tuned for more updates on Rick Harrison's life and legacy. If his journey has inspired you, consider supporting addiction awareness programs in your community. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to never miss an update on the man behind the Pawn Stars legacy.